Hello, everyone. Welcome to Sharing Stories Presents Book Summaries. Today we have The 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene. Let's dive right into it. What does this book have to offer?
Uh, well, I want you to just imagine a scenario right off the bat.
Okay, yeah, let's hear it.
So imagine watching the smartest, like the absolute hardest working person in your office get fired. You know, the one who stays late, does all the heavy lifting.
Oh, yeah, the person carrying the whole team.
Exactly. They get fired, and meanwhile, the most mediocre, subtly manipulative person in the department, they get a massive promotion.
Which just feels completely unfair.
Relatively unfair.
Yeah.
But according to the author we're covering today, that promoted person isn't just lucky. I mean, they're playing a game of power that the hard worker doesn't even realize they're participating in.
They don't even know they're on the board.
Right. So today, we have a massive stack of sources to work through. We've got a comprehensive summary, the official blurb, and some incredibly insightful reader reviews of this really controversial, universally fascinating bestseller.
It definitely gets people talking. It really does. And our mission for this deep dive is pretty straightforward. We are going to extract the core ideas, the key concepts, and the actionable takeaways from the book.
Just sticking to the facts.
Exactly. We aren't here to critique its morality or debate its ethics, We're simply going to decode the information so you, the listener, can understand exactly how power operates and just navigate the world with your eyes wide open.
Bring your book to life with AI. Plotsformovies.com helps you create movie-like trailers for your book, allowing filmmakers to visualize your story just the way you imagined it while writing. Enhance the storytelling experience to a whole new level with realistic characters, immersive voiceovers, and cinematic sound effects. No more boring stock images or generic clips. Captivate your audience, spark curiosity, make readers and filmmakers eager to explore more. Plotsformovies.com, where your story becomes cinema.
And that is really the perfect way to frame it. Because to truly understand this book, you have to appreciate the staggering historical scope that Greene is drawing from.
Oh, yeah, it's huge.
He isn't just analyzing modern corporate boardrooms or, 21st century politics. He pulled from 3,000 years of the history of power.
3 millennia. I mean, the sources mention figures ranging from Queen Elizabeth I and Henry Kissinger to Louis XIV and Machiavelli.
It's quite the lineup.
It's like the ultimate historical highlight reel of people who learned how to wield influence. And they often learned it the hardest way imaginable.
Absolutely. And the core premise of the book, which is established right from page 1, is that power itself is completely amoral.
Amoral, meaning it doesn't care about good or bad.
Right. The book deliberately does not prescribe a moral code. And honestly, that can be super jarring for a lot of readers.
Oh, I'm sure.
It offers a highly realistic and sometimes very uncomfortable examination of how influence is actually acquired, how it's maintained, and how it's ultimately lost.
Yeah, the mechanics just don't change.
They really don't. Whether you're dealing with high-stakes international diplomacy, ruthless corporate takeovers, or literally just everyday personal relationships, the mechanics of power remain surprisingly, almost terrifyingly consistent.
Okay, let's unpack this, because that brings us to the book's fundamental view on human nature. After reading through the summary, I started to think of power, the way Greene describes it, as being kind of like gravity.
Oh, I like that. Gravity.
Yeah, because, you might not like gravity. You might think it's entirely unfair that if you drop your favorite coffee mug, it shatters on the floor.
Right. Totally unfair to the mug.
But it dictates every single physical interaction on Earth, whether you choose to acknowledge it or not. I mean, you can't just opt out of gravity because you find it unpleasant.
No, you definitely can't.
And apparently, according to this book, you can't opt out of power dynamics either.
That is a brilliant analogy. You just can't opt out. And one of the reviews in our sources makes a really compelling point about this unavoidable reality.
What do they say?
Well, the reviewer points out that deep down, every single human being secretly desires power.
Even if they won't admit it.
Exactly. And why? Because holding power simply allows us to have our way. It makes moving through the world and, getting what we want so much easier.
Which makes sense, logically.
Right. But to explain how to get it, the book dives straight into the darker, more primal aspects of human nature. It analyzes selfishness, deceit, treachery, and manipulation.
Yeah, which sounds incredibly bleak when you just list it out like that. Backstabbing, masking your real intent, tricking your friends.
That sounds terrible.
On the surface, it basically sounds like an instruction manual for becoming a supervillain.
It definitely can read that way, especially if you just skim the chapter titles.
Mm.
But the ultimate goal of understanding these laws isn't necessarily to encourage you to go out and practice treachery.
It's not a how-to guide for being evil.
No, not at all. For a huge portion of readers, it acts as a crucial defensive tool. Think about it. If you understand the precise mechanics of how manipulation works, you possess the power to see through what the reviewers call masked faces.
Ah, so you can spot it coming.
Exactly. You can recognize when someone is using a specific psychological law against you, and you can outmaneuver them to protect yourself.
That makes total sense. And I want you, the listener, to just pause for a second here. Think about your own workplace or even your broader social circles.
Just everyday interactions.
Yeah, think about the subtle actions of the people around you. How often are mind games being played right under your nose? Like someone conveniently forgetting to CC you on an important email.
Oh, the accidental CC drop? Classic.
Right. Or someone taking subtle credit for your project in a meeting. Or someone suddenly becoming your best friend right before promotions are announced.
It happens every day.
Greene is basically saying, wake up. A game is being played on the board, and you are currently acting as a pawn.
Precisely. The book gives you the vocabulary to decode those nuanced, invisible meanings behind people's actions. It reflects our basic instincts.
It really pulls back the curtain.
It does, and it gives you clarity on past situations where you might have felt confused or sidelined or outplayed without knowing why.
So if power is this unavoidable gravitational force and we're all on the board, what are the opening moves? Like, how do you actually defend yourself?
Well, a lot of it comes down to restraint.
Yeah, a massive chunk of the summary seems to focus on extreme self-control. For instance, Law 1, never outshine the master.
Oh, this is perhaps the most famous and honestly the most frequently violated law in the whole book.
Because it's so easy to break.
It is. The principle relies on deep psychology. You must avoid making your superiors feel insecure or overshadowed.
Which feels totally counterintuitive, right? I mean, we're taught to work hard and show our bosses how smart we are so we get promoted.
Right. But that assumes your boss is a perfectly rational, entirely secure robot.
Spoiler alert, they aren't.
No, they are very human. If you try too hard to impress the person above you by showing off your brilliance, let's say you fix a massive problem in a meeting that your boss couldn't figure out in a gun, you might think you just proved your worth.
You think you're getting a gold star.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But what you actually did was trigger their insecurities. You made them look incompetent in front of others.
Ouch. Yeah, that's bad.
And in the history of power, an insecure master is a deeply dangerous master. They won't promote you. They will find a way to quietly eliminate you because you threaten their ego.
Wow, so you think you're securing a promotion, but you're actually painting a giant target on your own back.
Precisely. You have to make them look smarter than they are.
Which leads directly into the mechanics of Law 3, which is conceal your intentions. You are supposed to keep your long-term plans completely private.
Because if they don't know what you're doing, they can't stop it.
Right. If people don't know what you're doing, they can't build a defense against it.
And the way you conceal those intentions brings us to Law 4. Always say less than necessary. This is where the psychology gets really fascinating.
Why is saying less so powerful?
Because human beings are naturally incredibly uncomfortable with silence. When there's a pause in a conversation, people feel this overwhelming urge to fill the void.
Oh, totally. It gets so awkward.
Right. So by keeping your mouth shut, you force the other person to nervously keep talking. And when they keep talking, they leak their intentions, their insecurities, and their data to you.
That is so true. The sources actually mention King Louis XIV of France using this brilliantly.
Yes, the Sun King. He was a master at this.
Right.
Whenever his ministers would come to him with these elaborate, impassioned proposals, hoping to read his reaction, Louis XIV would simply listen in total silence.
Just staring at them.
Yes, he'd look at them and just say, "I shall see." And then he would walk away.
No way. Just, I shall see.
That was it. I shall see. It drove his court absolutely crazy because they had no idea what he was thinking. His silence created a psychological vacuum that gave him total control over their anxiety and their behavior.
Okay, I have to jump in here and play devil's advocate for a second.
Go for it.
Because reading through these specific laws, never outshine the boss, constantly hide your true motives, police every single word you say to remain silent and mysterious, isn't this just utterly exhausting?
It does sound like a lot of work.
Right. Are we all just supposed to suppress our true personalities, bite our tongues, and basically walk on eggshells around fragile egos for the rest of our lives? It feels like you'd completely lose your identity playing this game.
What's fascinating here is that Greene doesn't view this as losing your identity at all.
Really? How so?
He frames these actions as a form of strategic empathy and acute self-awareness. It's not about being a timid pushover. It's about emotional regulation and control.
Okay, I'm listening.
In fact, he has another law specifically addressing this very tension. The law is, think as you like, but behave like others.
Oh, interesting. So it's like a deliberate compartmentalization.
Exactly. You maintain your independent thought, your unique identity, and your personal beliefs entirely intact inside your own mind. That is yours.
But outwardly.
Outwardly, you exercise supreme social awareness. You adapt to the environment you're in. You don't needlessly alienate people by flaunting how different or how much smarter or how much more radical you are.
You just blend in.
You blend in to reduce friction. Why fight a million tiny battles over your outward behavior? Blending in preserves your energy and your resources for when you really need to make a decisive move.
Okay, so concealment, silence, and behavioral camouflage. These are your shield. That's your defense.
Exactly, a defensive game.
But a shield alone doesn't win the game. How do these historical figures actually transition to offense and gain influence? Because the sources outline some tactics of engagement that are, frankly, wild.
They really push the boundaries.
Let's look at Law 2. Never put too much trust in friends. Learn how to use enemies.
That one always catches people off guard. Our natural human instinct is to surround ourselves with friends, right? We want allies we actually like.
Of course we do.
But Greene points out, through historical examples, that friends are highly susceptible to envy. They might feel entitled to your success, they might take you for granted, or they might betray you precisely because they know all your deepest weaknesses.
Yikes. And an enemy.
An enemy, strangely enough, can be far more useful. If you can find a way to co-opt a former rival or use an enemy, they have everything to prove. They know they're on thin ice.
That's a really good point.
Their loyalty, once you've earned it or incentivized it, can actually be far more reliable because it's based on clear transactional mutual benefit rather than, messy emotional baggage.
Here's where it gets really interesting to me. I was totally tracking with the whole fly under the radar, blend in, stay silent strategy we just talked about.
The whole camouflage thing.
Yeah, but then the summary throws this absolute curveball of a law at us court attention at all costs.
Ah, yes. Law 6.
Wait, what? Are we hiding in the shadows, or are we jumping on top of the boardroom table shouting for everyone to look at us? This feels like a massive contradiction.
It looks like a complete paradox on the surface, doesn't it? But there's a very deliberate surgical logic here. You have to separate your inner world from your outer brand.
Okay, separate the two.
You meticulously conceal your motives, your inner thoughts, and your long-term plans. But you simultaneously maximize your visibility and your physical presence.
Because reputation is the currency of power.
Exactly. Reputation often dictates your influence before you even enter the room. If no one knows you exist, you have absolutely zero power.
That makes sense. You can't influence anyone if you're invisible.
Right. You must guard your reputation fiercely and ensure you're seen, recognized, and relevant. You want everyone looking at you, talking about you, and focusing on your carefully crafted public persona.
Why?
Precisely so they don't look closely at what your hidden hands are actually doing.
Wow, okay. Motives hidden, visibility high, it's misdirection, like a magician.
That's a perfect way to describe it.
And the book illustrates these concepts, both the spectacular triumphs and the catastrophic failures, through some incredible historical anecdotes.
They're so entertaining to read.
The reviewers in our sources specifically highlight how genuinely fun it is to read about these historical con jobs. They mention two amazing stories, Victor Lustig and the duo of Arnold and Slack.
Yes, these historical vignettes are really the lifeblood of the book. It's not just dry academic theory. Let's look at Victor Lustig, for example, the man famous for literally selling the Eiffel Tower twice.
Right, which sounds impossible. How did he actually do it using these laws?
Well, in 1925, the Eiffel Tower was rusting and incredibly expensive to maintain. Lustig forged government credentials, posed as a corrupt official, and invited the city's biggest scrap metal dealers to a secret meeting.
Okay, setting the trap.
He told them the government was going to quietly tear the tower down and sell it for scrap. But he didn't hard sell them. He used Law 4, saying less than necessary.
So he just shut up.
He sat back, remained silent, and just watched them. He looked for the most insecure, eager dealer in the room, a man named Poisson. Lustig let Poisson's own greed and desire to be a big shot fill the silence.
Oh, wow.
Lustig concealed his true intentions so well and courted the right kind of secretive attention that Poisson literally handed him a suitcase full of cash for a monument Lustig didn't even own.
Unbelievable. He weaponized the man's own insecurity and greed just by being quiet.
A masterclass in the laws.
And the reviewers also mention Arnold and Slack, who pulled off the great diamond hoax of 1872 in America.
Another perfect example of courting attention while concealing intentions. Arnold and Slack didn't take out advertisements saying they found a diamond mine.
That would be too obvious.
Exactly. They simply walked into a prominent bank with a sack of rough gems, deposited them, and acted incredibly secretive. They refused to answer questions.
Letting the silence do the work again.
Their silence and mystery courted so much attention that the wealthiest men in America literally begged to invest in their secret mine. They used the laws of power to make the victims come to them.
Those stories really bring the mechanics to life. You know, the reviewer noted that reading about those con men wasn't just informative, it was genuinely laugh-out-loud fun because you see the exact levers of human nature being pulled.
It really is fascinating.
And it seems the physical book itself is designed to mirror this feeling of uncovering secrets. The sources note the text is incredibly elegant, laid out with bold black and red ink throughout the margins.
The aesthetic is very striking.
It's replete with historical fables and these unique formatting choices called word sculptures. It sounds less like a standard self-help book and more like you're reading some ancient, forbidden manuscript of Machiavellian strategy.
That design choice is highly intentional by Robert Greene. It reinforces the visceral tone of the book.
To make it feel powerful just holding it.
By wrapping these deep psychological insights in fables, vibrant red text, and biographies of ancient leaders, he makes you feel like you're accessing hidden, esoteric knowledge that's been passed down by kings and emperors.
So we've got the defensive maneuvers of silence, we've got the reputation building, we've seen how historical con men apply this. But how does a listener actually adapt this to a modern Tuesday at the office or, you know, a complex family dynamic?
You have to adapt the laws.
Let's look at the final moves. The book heavily emphasizes two key adaptation laws. Plan all the way to the end and know who you're dealing with.
Planning all the way to the end is about anticipating second and third order consequences. It's about training yourself out of the trap of reacting emotionally in the moment.
Stopping that knee-jerk reaction.
Right. Before you take any action, before you send that angry email, before you demand a raise, you must mentally map out all the possible reactions, the fallout, and the counter moves.
But here's the catch. You can only accurately predict those consequences if you strictly follow the other law you mentioned, know who you're dealing with. Right, because an aggressive move that earns respect from one boss might get you totally fired by another. You can't predict consequences if you misjudge the specific personality you're interacting with.
It's all context.
So what does this all mean? How do we synthesize all of these different rules into a single mindset? There is a standout quote from the reviews that I think absolutely nails it.
Let's hear it.
The quote is, "When you meet a swordsman, draw your sword. Do not recite poetry to one who is not a poet."
If we connect this to the bigger picture, that quote perfectly encapsulates Robert Greene's core thesis of extreme adaptability.
Adaptability is key.
There is no such thing as a one-size-fits-all approach to human interaction. Let's apply it to the modern workplace. If you are dealing with a highly aggressive, ruthless, competitive colleague, a swordsman, you need to match that reality.
You can't play nice.
You draw your sword. You use the laws of power to defend yourself and push back.
Because if you try to sit down and have a collaborative, vulnerable, poetic conversation with a shark...
You will be eaten alive.
Yeah.
Exactly. You do not recite poetry to someone who only understands and respects raw power. Conversely, if you're dealing with a collaborative, sensitive partner, drawing a sword will destroy the relationship.
You have to adjust your strategy.
You have to speak the language of the person standing directly in front of you.
You have to accurately assess the situation, read the emotional landscape of the person, and then deploy the specific law that fits that exact moment. It's all about moving through the world with supreme situational awareness.
That's the ultimate takeaway.
Before we wrap up these insights, a quick word. We at sharingstoriespodcast bring you insightful book summaries. This content is supported by plots4movies.com, an AI-enabled book trailer platform where you can watch 1-minute trailers of books to understand them better before you buy them.
To briefly synthesize everything we've explored today, the 48 Laws of Power is, at its absolute heart, a masterclass in reading human nature.
It really is.
It violently strips away the idealistic, naive views of how we wish the world operated and presents a stark, historically backed view of how it actually functions.
The uncomfortable truth.
By understanding these timeless patterns, from the psychological power of silence to why we shouldn't outshine the master, to adapting to the swordsman, you can make far more informed decisions. You can protect yourself from the hidden manipulation around you, and you can navigate your life with strategic, unapologetic clarity.
It really is a fascinating, if somewhat terrifying, lens to view history and your own daily life through. We hope this deep dive gave you some valuable tools to see the invisible game being played around you.
The game is always happening.
And maybe it even gave you the vocabulary to understand why certain things in your career or life unfolded the way they did. If you enjoyed this analysis, please make sure to subscribe and support the channel. You can buy the book through the link in the description to explore all 48 laws for yourself. And we really want to hear from you. Explicitly comment below with the book you want us to discuss in our next deep dive.
And as we leave you today, I want to offer one final provocative thought for you to mull over on your own.
Ooh, what is it?
Well, we've talked extensively about navigating human masters, insecure bosses, treacherous friends, and useful enemies. But look at the landscape of the world today. What happens when these 3,000-year-old laws of power collide with modern technology?
Oh, that's a wild thought.
Right. How do these exact laws apply to the digital algorithms that now govern so much of our attention, our finances, and our behavior? Are we unwittingly violating Law 1 by trying to outshine the algorithmic master on our social feeds?
Or feeding it too much data.
Or, conversely, is the entire internet just the ultimate global testing ground for Law 6, courting attention at all costs? Consider who or what holds the power in your digital life and ask yourself, which law are they using on you right now?
A brilliant, slightly terrifying question to leave off on. Thanks for joining us, and keep your sword sharp.